Please welcome to the podium our final speaker for the afternoon, Graciela DeAnda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Graciela DeAnda. I am an interdisciplinary artist working primarily in photography and installation, exploring themes of memory, family, migration, and religion. So before I go on, I want to thank you everyone who has supported me in this journey and the people I have done studio visits with, MCAD MFA faculty, all the cohorts, my friends, family, and my mentor. Más específicamente, también me gustaría agradecer a mis padres. Sin ellos no estaría haciendo mi MFA en este momento. Son el mayor apoyo y mi motivación cuando se trata de mi trabajo. Los quiero mucho. So I would first love to start talking about my mom. So 2 years ago, I discovered that she was a photographer, that she had been taking colored film analog photographs on her own film camera that she still keeps. And I also recently found out that she has a box of undeveloped rolls of color film in her basement. And so her work mainly focused on family and memory. And what she loves most about photography is the ability to capture a single moment in time, and how looking back at a photograph can trigger the exact feeling that was experienced in that moment. That's why she loves creating memories of my brothers and I growing up. So when I began my bachelor's degree, I initially majored in economics. Didn't like it, and in my third year, I took a film photography course and discovered the work of a Mexican documentary photographer called Graciela DeAnda. I was fascinated by her deep empathy in her subjects and her focus on capturing the essence of diverse Mexican cultures. Her ability to transform ordinary moments into visual stories, to consider how images can hold emotion, history, and connection across generations. But later that summer, during my third year of undergrad, I took a 1-month trip back to my hometown called San Julian, Jalisco. Inspired by Graciela DeAnda's approach to photography, I created a series of photographs that helped me discover my love for documentary photography, how much emotion and storytelling can be conveyed through images. This experience ultimately inspired me to shift my career path towards photography. Apart from spending that summer in Mexico, every summer since my freshman year of high school, I helped my dad as a water girl in the soybean fields. I would fill up 20 to 30 large jugs of water in the back of the truck, bring them to the workers on the hottest days of the year, 6 times a week. Through this work, I had the chance to talk with the workers about themselves and how they ended up in this line of work. These conversations inspired me to create a project called the Migration Act. So the Migration Act ended up being my BFA thesis, and I wanted to focus on migrant soybean workers. My goal was to bring a greater awareness and understanding to the South Dakota community by recording workers' stories and photographing them in the context of their workplaces, neighborhoods, and recreational spaces. This project was conducted through interviews, photography, and a community diary, a handwritten collection of comments and stories passed among community members to capture the many diverse voices and experiences of the workers. So within this project, I have been using different methods, including recording responses to a series of questions inspired by this text to your right, by Lorna Charrington, and photographs by Philip Decker. This article motivated me to develop questions such as, what inspired you to come to the United States? What misunderstanding do you believe the community has of you? What was something you have left behind? I initially conducted interviews in people's homes. As participants began referring me to others, I decided to host my first workshop. This brought together everyone I had interviewed so far, along with new participants that I had met through church, community events, and working with my dad in the fields. The workshop allowed people to share their stories creatively through photographs, drawings, and text, creating a space for both personal reflection and community connection. So, religion has always been deeply embedded in my life. Growing up in a traditional Catholic home, I experienced it in countless ways, from my first communion to dressing up as a saint and going to church on Halloween, praying the rosary every night for 30 minutes, and attending church every Sunday morning. I realized how profoundly religion impacted my life growing up. This reflection inspired my first project in my MFA, photographing Latino home altars. I worked with people in the Minneapolis Latino community, people I had already met through community gatherings. I was interested in seeing what similarities their altars might have had with my mom's altar in the house that I grew up in. Common items like the rosary, the cross, the Virgin Mary appeared repeatedly. I asked each person about these objects, why they mattered, what they represented, and how they carried meaning in their lives. And that led to my next project, telling stories through the power of belongings, which I created for my mid-program review. 4 participants allowed me to tell the story of an item they brought with them when coming to the US, and the significance it held in their lives. For the installation, I created 4 wooden boxes with hinged doors on the outside of the installation. Opening a door allowed viewers to see the person's eyes up close, creating an intimate one-on-one conversation between the viewer and the person's eyes. Once inside the installation, viewers saw video clips of me interacting with these objects, touching and feeling their textures. This conveyed the trust participants placed in me by sharing their personal and sentimental belongings. One had a cross, another a photograph of their mother, a watch, and a photo of the Virgin Mary. So I wanted to make this installation an immersive and emotional experience for the viewer. As one of my largest first installation pieces, I really enjoyed exploring how installation work can engage and impact the audience. For viewers, the piece creates space for empathy and reflection, highlighting moments and experiences that might otherwise go unnoticed. My goal is to encourage people to think about how we relate to one another and the stories that shape our understanding of community. During my mid-program review, I was also asked a certain question. How are you putting yourself more into your own work? I took this as a motivational tool for my next project, putting myself into my installation through a performance piece. The idea, it takes place in Mexico, specifically in my grandma's backyard on my mom's side. I represent her through a younger generation, being me, slipping into the everyday rhythms that shaped her life, talking on the phone when the mechanic would come and fix the car, the vinyl record humming familiar music in the background, the soft repetition of the rosary filling the space. And in the overall video, it's the small things that hold the most weight. I've worked on other projects celebrating my Latino culture before, but this is the first one that truly brings me closer to my own family. So another artist that I'm very much influenced by is French sculptor and photographer Christian Boltanski. He uses objects, photographs, and installations to explore memory, loss, and the passage of time. His work relates to my practice because his use of objects and immersive space informs how I approach storytelling through materials, sound, and environment. Boltanski shows how everyday items can carry memory and emotion, encouraged me to think about how my own photography and installations can help viewers feel connected to the experiences I explore. So my practice is not limited to a single medium, but it includes photographs, wood, fabrics, and metal. My process moves through writing, photographing, experimenting, editing, printing, and installation, often guided by ideas captured late at night in a notebook or recording myself. A huge part of my practice centers on trust and collaboration as well. I believe working closely with others is a powerful way to bring people together, and this belief guides my approach to all of my work. Overall, my practice is experimental, collaborative, and intuitive, a process of exploration and reflection where ideas evolve through making. So, I enjoy paying close attention to small details, the lighting, the layout, and the objects that make a space feel lived in. This project here brings me back to the relationship I have with my mom, allowing me to portray her to not just her as a mother, seeing her as a mother, but as a beautiful person, the energy source that brings a family to life. I aim to convey this through music, sound, smell, and moving imagery that surrounds the viewer. So here I ended up doing this installation, what you saw previously, but here you can see I'm including materials like different textures of fabric, velvet, and synthetic textiles, creating a static effect, representing how memories linger no matter how much time passes. Family photographs complement this by introducing two-dimensional and illusional space, creating layered experiences that merge flat images with three-dimensional environments. These choices guide both physical movement and psychological engagement, allowing memory, emotion, and story to weave together. In the installation, the light shapes how viewers move through the space, turning objects into focal points or casting shadows that echo memory and presence. A cloth lit from behind, for example, becomes more than fabric, fragile yet endearing, like the stories it holds. As you're viewing the next step I'm interested in exploring is creating natural dyes from fruits like cactus, hibiscus, and prickly pear to apply to fabrics, wood, and other materials, experimenting with the effects these colors create. Inspired by my mom, who made artesanías, handcrafted Mexican dresses for dolls, I hope to combine these with techniques such as photo weaving, embroidery, and ribbon, rearranging archival imagery and family photographs to create layered, tactile compositions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Graciela. Do we have any questions? Any questions for Graciela?
So we saw that you did a performance piece. Is that something that you want to continue exploring or doing like later on?
You know, I have decided that I want to do more performance because it was the very first time I ever done performance. And I really enjoyed placing myself, another way of placing myself into my work. And what you see in the second video of the installation is kind of a layered from the first performance piece. But I think being part of the piece just adds more, especially getting to know myself as an artist too. I felt like it was the first one that made me feel more close, and just it was a whole other unveiling moment for me. So I think performance would be something that I would want to continue, whether that be through sound and the different materials and elements that I said.
Thank you, Kat. Any other questions?
Graciela, I'm really interested in if you are going to incorporate any family members in this new project. Like in the past, you worked with migrant workers and shared their stories. Here, you're talking about your family from your perspective, but I'm curious if there's other perspectives that you want to include.
I'm glad you asked that question because I think since I've always focused on people outside of my family, because my family is very reserved, very much reserved. And so for the first time when I decided to do this project about my mom, I think it made me see a whole other side of her that I kind of mirrored off myself and made me think of answering, like I already answered questions of like things that I had growing up of like, why was it like this? Why was I raised like this? Why did my mom want to like teach me these things? And I think it's just something I do want to continue because it's just again discovering those chapters of like my parents that I think need to be discovered, but through me, through my eyes, and also keeping some of it just to myself and not just opening it and giving it all to the audience and the viewer.
Thank you so much for that question. Thank you. We have time for one final question. Is there anyone who has a thought or a question that they want to share? Sarah, is there?
There is a question in the chat from Pat from FA1. What are your plans for after? Oh, sorry. What are your plans for after your MFA?
Rude.
Pat she just wants to know that. No big deal.
That's a really big question. But I have an idea of what I would like. So I know that, I mean, I have something down. I'm going up to Spain after my graduation to kind of incorporate some processes that I've done too. So I do also photo historical processes. And I'm going to be doing a workshop up there kind of showing, what I know how to do in my historical processes. And apart from that, I am going up to Mexico for about a couple months, and I actually plan to maybe stay there for a couple months. Hasn't been confirmed, but I have a good friend up there who's also a documentary photographer that I met 2 years ago, and he just reached out to me, and he saw a little bit about my process because I did a studio visit with them, and we're thinking of collaborating and perhaps creating a documentary. So.
Thank you so much. Please give a round of applause to Graciela DeAnda.